I'm going to tell you everything. This is a full review. I am not going to hold back. I'm going to tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly, so you can understand if booking this cruise is the right move for you and your family. There are lots of things that I liked about my experience aboard the ship. However, there's quite a few things that I wish I could change or that I knew before I came on board. I am going to talk about the food, the quality and variety that you can expect while on board. Also the pool, entertainment, and all the entertainment options that are on board. The room tour, how much do things cost? What is there to do on board? And what makes this different than most other Carnival ships? Carnival has rightly earned the reputation of being a fun cruise ship. When you get on board, the first place you're going to want to go is the Lido deck, which is what you're seeing right now. And these people are dancing around because it's the sail away party. And one of the things I really enjoy about this cruise and all cruise ship is the fun, festive atmosphere you feel when you get on board. And these people, as you can see, are in it and they're having fun. Now, one of the challenges that you'll probably find is that if you're on a cruise that is absolutely booked and full, this area is going to be very small. Now, on a typical day, this is what the Lido deck looks like. Now, one of the challenges that I have with Carnival, and I hate to start off on the negative, is that they only have 2 pool areas. You just saw what the Lido deck looks like, and now this is the other pool area. This is all the way to the back of the ship. It's nicely appointed. It looks very nice, but when you have a ship that has 5,000 plus passengers, you know, this only being one of 2 areas that you have a pool, it gets small real quick. If you've seen a top view or even side view of what the Venezia looks like, you'll notice that it has a slide on board. There's several of them, and the slides were pretty fun and they're free and anyone can do them. One of the challenges I have with the splash park area and the slides is that it has a horrible splash park. The slides are pretty much it. You know, this right here is what you have for the splash park. It's pretty pathetic. It's one of the worst. It is actually the worst splash park I've ever seen on board any cruise line. So if you have young kids, they're going to be disappointed with this aspect of the cruise ship. You see lifeguards here, and there are lifeguards always pretty much at the pool, except at nighttime. But one of the good things about the pool is that the depth is pretty deep. It goes down to about 6 feet. What you're looking at right now is the Atrium. It is absolutely beautiful. The word I would describe it is stunning. It is the interior heart of the ship. Of course, there's a bar that centers it all, but it goes up 3 floors. It has extremely lush, plush seating, very different than I would expect. It really sets the tone, and this is where you enter the ship from. So, you know, it really gets you in the mood for a luxury, lush experience. We're now switching gears and we're in the main buffet, and I'm going to be brutally honest when it comes to the food. First off, a little bit about my cruise experience. I was on board for 12 days, 11 nights. I spent $860, which averages around $80 per day. So it was a very inexpensive cruise. That being the case, I expect that Carnival is going to keep up with what I would traditionally expect from, you know, a Carnival cruise. Now, when it comes to food, I look at 2 things: the quality as well as the variety. When it comes to the variety, the different types of food selection that you can choose from, this is where the wheels fell off the wagon. I was extremely disappointed. The food was very repetitive, especially for breakfast and lunch. If you want something new or to try different things, you're going to be extraordinarily disappointed. For a ship this size, and based on my past experiences with Carnival, I really expected a lot more. When it came to seating options, if you liked a window seat, which most cruisers do, the good news is that the design of this dining hall, you know, lend itself to lots of seats that were available at the window. So you could either have a window seat or a seat close enough that you could actually look out and see the ocean, even if though you're not maybe at the window. Now, one of the things that Carnival always does that drives me nuts is that they have these tiny small cups. And what I recommend you do is what this lady does right here. You fill up the cup, but you bring your own thermos or cooler and you just pour the drinks right in there. As you can see, there are lots of people on board who had their own cups because the cups that they give you are entirely too small. Now, when it comes to coffee, there's nothing to write home about here. They had decaf and regular. The only challenge is that sometimes there was a line to get a cup of coffee, especially when they had excursion days. People wanted to grab a cup of coffee, put it in the thermos, and go. The good news is that there were other free places that you can eat on board. There's also paid specialty restaurants, and we're going to explore all of them. Before we go to any of the specialty restaurants, let's talk about the dining experience at the main dining hall. Now, there were two options. You can have an evening or a late dining, or you can have anytime dining. We chose anytime dining because we wanted to kind of, see what the different servers were, so we could really pretty much give a good feedback as to the quality of service that we received while we were at the restaurant. Also, we wanted to check out anytime dining. I felt anytime dining gives us a lot more options to choose from when it comes to if we're back on the ship late versus if we want to have an early dinner. One of the challenges I had with the anytime dining is that I didn't find it convenient. When I often selected when I wanted to dine, I then had to wait another 15 to 20 minutes. Then when I got to the restaurant, I had to wait maybe another 20 minutes to get seated. So if you want immediate seating, it's going to end up costing you about 40 minutes of your time. And also, if you want a window seat for anytime dining, as soon as they open up the app where you can select a dining option, you have to do it in order to get seated first, so that way you can select a window. One of the challenges I had at this restaurant was it had a ton of interior seating, but very few window seating. So more than likely, regardless of what dining option you get, you're not going to be seated at the window. I also strongly recommend that when you're on board, you bring your smartphone. You're going to use it to scan this QR code here and select an option from the menu. It was very digital, heavily electronic experience, but as you can see, it works. And the food that they bring you is really good. I didn't like the buffet experience at all. However, my experience in the main dining hall was that the selections were pretty comprehensive. It changed every single night, so you weren't, you didn't have the same things over and over again. Now, one of the reasons why I am showing you so many images of the food, and this is not all of it, there was lots more options that we had, but to show you that, hey, look, you can have a variety of different things, and it tasted really good in my opinion. The only critique that I have when it comes to the main dining room was that I wanted it to be more of a grand room. I felt the ceilings were a bit low. It kind of felt a little claustrophobic in there. Now, this is me being super uber picky because the tables look beautiful. However, I've just been on carnival ships where they had grand dining halls that were just breathtaking when you walked in. Don't get me wrong, this was very beautiful, and the staff service was exceptional. Because we had, such a long cruise, we had an opportunity to have multiple waiters, and it was very good. The service was fantastic. However, I was just a little underwhelmed with, say, the dining room hall experience. Just a little bit more about the staff and entertainment while you're in the dining room. If you have ever been on a carnival cruise, you'll note that they will have some type of a dance-off, and they will have, this right here is what it is. And they got on the main stage and they were doing their thing. Of course, the stage isn't quite visible to everyone, just the way the whole dining room is laid out. But I thought it was fun that they did it. Now, we were there for 11 days and they did it not every day. But after a while, it got pretty stale. However, the waiters, they love to gin it up and get going in the hallway, so they made the experience fun for everyone. It was hard for people to participate. However, just sitting there and watching them carry on, made it quite entertaining. There are two main dining rooms. We were at the Grand Canal. This is the Marco Polo restaurant. They serve the exact same food. I like the decor here better, and it's a bit smaller than the Grand Canal. There are several specialty dining restaurants that have an upcharge. This is Bonsai Sushi, and I've dined at a few of these, and the food here is better than at the main dining room, which is a tall order because, the dining room main food was really pretty good. Bonsai Teppanyaki, I really enjoy this because it's more than just a food, it's a performance, so if you had a choice between all the main restaurants, specialty restaurants, this is my favorite. However, we're going to see all of them, but you can make your choice. This is their main steakhouse, Fahrenheit 555. It is really plush in here. Love the decor. There's also outdoor seating, and it's really very nice. But again, it's an upcharge. You're looking at maybe $50 a plate. Of all the cruise lines out there, Carnival, in my opinion, is the most relaxed when it comes to dress. However, there are formal nights, so make sure you at least bring formal attire. Because of the decor of the ship, I would attend one of the art classes, and you can decorate your own mask, because on formal night, people wore their mask. The pizza place on board is another place where you can have pizza. It's pretty much typical if you've ever been on a Carnival ship. For me, I wish the pizzas had more cheese and a little bit more sauce, but it was pretty good. There is also the Seafood Shack. They do have lobster and different types of fish and a few other things here. But however, this is an upcharge. It is not included. However, this restaurant that is outside, it's almost like it's tucked away. La Strada Grill is free, and it is included with your ship fare. And they serve different food that was on the buffet, so I would recommend it. Guy's Burger Joint is always a huge hit. I have no idea how they continue to just make great burger after great burger on a mass scale, but Guy's Burger Joint is really off the hook. Comodoro's, a Mexican fusion restaurant, gives you yet another free option as far as places that you can dine, which is great, conveniently located right next to the pool. If you like to drink, then you're going to like the Venezia, because there are lots of bars on board. In my opinion, if you really enjoy it, you should probably consider getting the drink package. However, what I would say that sets this ship apart from other Carnival ships is how lush the seating area is in and around the bars. I have never been on a Carnival ship that is so upscale. It looks like you are on a luxury vessel. And so if you like to have a drink and just relax in a very comfortable seat in a really plush environment, then you're going to enjoy your time on board. If you like to drink and it's a big part of how you enjoy and have a good time, then I strongly recommend you think about getting the drink package. However, I'll say that for most people who do the math, it doesn't work for them. For me, I spent $860 on an 11-night, 12-day cruise. It would have cost more than the cost of the cruise itself. So before you buy the drink package, definitely do the math. There is lots of entertainment on board, and most of it takes place in what you're looking at right now, which is the main auditorium. They do have playlist performances. Many of them have a video wall, so you can see lots of beautiful colors. It oftentimes it correlates with what they're trying to do, flashing lights, all those different things. It makes for an exceptional performance. Also, in my opinion, I'm not usually a big fan of Carnival entertainment. However, I felt that they did a pretty good job on board this ship. While I enjoy the entertainment on board, I do have 3 critiques. The first is that there's no live music. So if that's what you enjoy, you're going to be disappointed. The next thing is that the theater was oftentimes full, even when we tried to get there early, and they had 2 performances. The theater is small for the size of vessel that this is. And then the last one is that it had blocked views that really took away from your ability to enjoy the performance. Let's switch gears and talk about the entertainment while on board. And this is a mixed bag for me, because I really enjoyed some things and other things not so much. The first thing is Carnival keeps you busy. There are tons of things for you to do throughout the entire day, especially when you're at sea all day and their job is to keep you entertained. They do a good job of doing that. If you want to find out what's going on, they do deliver a paper at your stateroom every morning. It's called Fun Times, and it lists all the things that are happening. In my opinion, the easiest way to find out what's happening, the most convenient, is to download the app and make sure that you have it on your phone. Here's my major critique when it came to the entertainment options. Now, keep in mind that overall, I enjoyed the entertainment that was provided. However, I'm an adult and I came on board with kids, and most of the entertainment options that were available, in my opinion, catered to adults. And that's a challenge, especially if you have younger kids. You saw a little bit of what the water park will look like, and it is pathetic. So when it comes to your kids doing things and being entertained, you can see that they have this rope course, but the rope course, in my opinion, is overly simplistic. It wasn't very challenging at all, although it does provide something for you to do, but there's only so much that they have on board that's going to keep kids occupied. When you are in the Lido pool area, there's tons of table games and other type of games to keep you occupied. One of the things I thought was strange was that there was no pool table on board. I can't recall going on a cruise and not having a pool table, but there was no pool table on the ship. Also, there's lots of opportunities for you to dance, have a good time, and even if, this is one of the things I like, even if you're not in the mood or you're too tired, you can just sit there and you can people watch, and you can just, enjoy seeing people learn how to dance, make mistakes. There were lots of games where you play trivia or you just kind of watch people make a fool of them on stage. Carnival, in my opinion, doesn't really take itself too seriously, and it translates into how they do entertainment, and I think they do a good job getting people engaged and, just basically letting themselves go wild. Here's something else that kind of sets Carnival apart from other cruise ships. The entertainment continued on into the night. So if you like to party, even though it was an older crowd, but if you like to party, not a lot of teenagers or young adults on board, but if you like to party, then you're going to have a good time. And I'm an early riser, so there was stuff to do in the morning, and if you like to keep it and burn the midnight oil all the way up until the wee hours, there's stuff to do on board. They just kept it going and going and going. This was not a full ship, and they were still able to have tons of options for us to be able to dance and have fun and just laugh, and the entertainment just kept on rolling. So if you like to be entertained and you like to keep busy, then this ship is going to be the right one for you. There is a comedy club on board, and they had both R-rated and PG-13 for the entire family. It was a challenge to get in there at times because the comedians were so good. So this is something that just not on this ship, but in general, Carnival gets and does a very good job with any sort of choice of comedian. This is the sports bar. One of the challenges is a small area. The seats are quite big, so there's not a lot of seating options, and there's a couple big screens. But if you wanted to watch multiple types of entertainment, all at the same time, that's probably not going to be available. This is something I saw, and I felt I had to comment on it because I saw it so often, and it was people playing board games. I had never been on a ship where people played so many board games, and it was all over the place. And we had groups that formed they didn't know each other but came together to play board games. There was, of course, also lots of cruise games. And again, one thing I really enjoy is that Carnival does not take itself seriously. The comedians made fun of them, the ship and the staff. The staff made fun of the ship. Everyone was laughing at each other and together, and it was just a great experience. There is a movie theater on board the Lido deck, and it played a relatively current movie, and I enjoyed it. If you have watched any of my videos, you know that I love karaoke, and that's because people go up there and they make a complete fool of themselves. They think they're singing like Whitney Houston and just tearing apart every single note. Now, in talking to the people on board, they love these violins. I just thought they were okay, but people loved them. They got dressed up in different outfits. It was very regal, very elegant, very tasteful, very well done. It almost made you feel like you were on the Titanic. It was just so lush and plush. Something I really enjoyed about aboard this ship and in just ships in general, I love live music. And as you can see in the next couple images, there were a variety of different ways that you could hear a live band, a soloist, people who were playing various different types of musical instrument. It was a lot of musical entertainment that was good quality. This is the art auction, and the thing I just want to point out here is that the guy who was the auctioneer was so good, he could sell sand to people in the desert. Now, if you're watching the content thus far, then you probably like what you're hearing so far. The way that you can help me and help others find my channel is simply by hitting the like button. We are walking through the hallways heading to my cabin in order to do a room tour. If you want a more comprehensive tour, check out my channel because I do one there. But we're going to do a quick one here and just give you an idea about this room. I was on this vacation with my parents, so normally I get the cheapest room, but I sprung for $65 to get a window view room. I think it was well worth the $65 extra. But you can see it's a pretty basic room. One of the things I really enjoy is that it carried the whole full Venetian theme from outside inside the room. It had a really nice, lush, luxury appearance to the room. The bathroom, small, but it was well appointed, and it was very comfortable. So no problems whatsoever with the room, adequate amount of storage. I thought it interesting that usually the bathroom is the first thing that when you walk through the door. However, the bathroom was in the back, and they do have USB ports right there, not only on the desk, but right next to the bedstand. If you're one of those passengers who want to have room service, there is room service provided at an upcharge. And also, if you want to decorate, there is the magnets do not work on these doors. These doors look like wood, but there's all fake. Also, the granite in the rooms or the stones, those are all fake too as well. There are many things, as you have heard, that Carnival did really good, and some things I thought that they could have done a better job at. But however, when it comes to this area right here, Carnival knocked it all the way out the park. This is the adult only area, and just by looking around, you see that it has fantastic views. It has extremely comfortable and lush seating. It has coverings available, and all of this is complimentary. It's all free. You don't have to be one of the platinum class members or one of the everybody who's an adult who's on board has access to this area. There's only one critique I have of the area, and it's that it does not have a swimming pool. However, it has 2 giant size jacuzzis that you can fit 12 people inside. They're the largest jacuzzis I've ever seen on board a cruise ship. This is an adult only area, so the big question is, do young people invade this area? And the answer is no. They had someone specifically who walks around and checks to make sure that everyone back around here is at least looks like an adult. My only other comment, not a critique, just a comment about this area, is that in order to secure one of the day beds or one of the nicer areas, you have to get here as early as 7:30 in the morning, which isn't too bad. Before we go to the gym, which is next, I just want to show you that there is an outdoor smoking area, and the gym looks okay. It's not a bad gym. The only critique that I have when it comes to the gym is that for a ship that can accommodate 5,000 plus people, it is very small. They don't have a lot of, in my opinion, treadmills in order to satisfy a group that large. But I'll explain to you an alternative a little bit later. But there was hardly any floor space. If you want to do any kind of floor type exercises, you were extremely limited. In addition to this interior gym area, there are also 2 outdoor fitness gyms that use your body weight as the resistance. I thought there was a unique, nice twist to what I thought was a small gym area. Also, part of the reason why they don't have a lot of jogging treadmills in the gym is because it has a pretty long outside jogging track that's used really regularly by folks on board. It's usually always full. There's also fitness classes that are offered for those of you who want maybe a more relaxed type of exercise. There is a spa on board, and we're going to switch right now and go into where they do the massages. And this is what the massage room looks like. Very nice, tranquil, peaceful. I did not have a massage, but my wife did, and she enjoyed it tremendously. It is an additional cost, not included. They start anywhere from $25 on up. They do free massages, and I had 3 free teaser massages, and but they weren't able to upsell me on that. This is another area that I felt was really plush, and it was included in your room fare, but the adult relaxed area, that is a jacuzzi that they're just treating it right now, and it has a phenomenal view. The only challenge is that it is so small, you can only really fit 2 people in here. Here it has a shower, it has shower heads that will hit you from all different sides and different angles. So all this right here is included, and right next to it is a adult sauna. So kids cannot be in here, unfortunately, but this is all for adults, and it's just really very nice. This is all included in your fare, and I just thought it was excellent. Before we move on to the casino and talk about the gambling options on board, I do want to mention that there is a Cloud9 beauty salon on board. I did not use it, however, members of my party did, and they said that they felt the service here was pretty exceptional. There are two things that people really griped about aboard this cruise, and you're looking at one of them, and it's the casino. Now, as you can see, they have slot machines and they also have table games. Now, the problem that people have with the casinos is not that there was a casino on board, it was the fact that it smelled like smoke. And what I mean by that is, even if you're not playing, in order to get from one end of the ship to the other, the most effective way would be to walk through this casino. Of course, walking through the casino is a way for the cruise ship to try to entice you to gamble, but walking through the casino when it smells like smoke gets you smelling smoky. Now, there is a smoke-free casino. You're looking at it right here. The only problem with this casino is that it is extremely small. So if you wanted to gamble in a non-smoke way, then you are kind of stuck with this small space. The average American walks 4,000 to 5,000 steps every single day. When you're on a cruise ship, you're going to be doing a lot more walking than that. You're going to probably put more like 10,000 steps on. Now, the good news is that most of the time, you're not going to be on your feet. You're going to be on your back, and you're going to be relaxing and doing something like this right here. So there are lots of relaxed spaces on board. And this is one thing the Venezia got right. The indoor and outdoor space, especially the indoor space, was extremely lush. You see the different seating arrangements, and the comfort level was extraordinary. It was an absolute pleasure to just sit down in the evening and just relax and unwind from maybe a busy day. Something I want to point out that was particularly troublesome, in my sailing, and I don't know why, but the boat was very rocky. So if you've had that experience, you've been on the Venezia, please let me know in the comment section if you've also experienced that. Of course, you're not supposed to reserve chairs, but people did, and that's how they did it. They brought the clips with them and they just put their towels on there, which is kind of smart. I mentioned this earlier, but there were not a lot of kids on board this sailing. I think largely because it was 11 days and it was in the middle of the school year. So it was difficult for people to take their kids out. However, in my opinion, there were not enough things for kids to do in order to enjoy their time on board. I've been on board many ships, and this, in my opinion, is probably one of the worst designed ships for children. Now, there is a teen and children's zone, and this is probably one of the best teen zones I have ever seen on board a ship. Most of the time it was empty because there were hardly any kids on board, but if there were, it's a very nice lush space for them to enjoy. But outside of the teen zone, the arcade, and the water slide, there's not really a lot of things here for kids to do. If you do have young kids, it may be a little bit different, and here's what I mean by that. There is daycare available, and it's for free. So you can, if you bring your kids on board, this is what it looks like in the area. You can drop the kids off. You can spend the day enjoying your sailings, and you pick them up at nighttime later on in the evening. So that's a great option if you have really young kids on board. There is an arcade on board, and I think that's great, especially if it rains and there's bad weather. It gives you something to do. The only thing I'd recommend you do as a parent is make sure you limit how much money is on your kids' room key card, because they can spend very quickly $100 because the games are very expensive. Also, something I noted was there was a lot of security presence on board, more so than I've ever seen on board a cruise ship. And I'm not sure exactly why, but pretty much I saw security officers all the time. There were no problems on board, but it was kind of maybe a little bit disconcerting to see officers so regularly. Of all the cruise lines, Carnival is probably one of the most carefree when it comes to how people dress. You didn't really see people walking around in pajamas like these two right here. People pretty much dress pretty, casually all the time. We talked earlier about smoking in casinos. People really hated that, but even more than the smoking in casinos, people hated these smart elevators. The way they worked is that you press the number and then it would tell you what elevator to go to, and then you would just wait there until the elevator arrives. I have been on cruises where they've had smart elevators, and I'm not saying that this one works any worse off than any of the other cruise ships I've been on. The challenge with these elevators, it doesn't tell you how long you're going to wait. So you're waiting there, which seems like an inordinate amount of time. Other elevators are opening and closing, and you just want to get going, and it leads to a lot of frustration. So even though people understood how it worked, they still thought it was far more inefficient than just the traditional method. I do want to spend a little bit of time about getting around. And of course, the most effective way to get around is going to be the Shoe Leather Express, walking. And again, I mentioned this earlier, average person walks about 5,000 steps a day. However, on the cruise, you're looking at anywhere from 10,000 to maybe 20,000 steps if you go on, an excursion. So there's going to be lots of walking while you're on board. The average cruiser also gains a pound a day, so it may make sense to use the stairs as much as possible. Now, the reason I'm bringing all this up, if you have a mobility issue and need to take the elevators, with those smart elevators and how people reacted to, trying to let people with, wheelchairs go in elevators, you're going to have a hard time of it. Oftentimes when the elevator comes, people have been waiting so long that they're not inclined to allow someone with a wheelchair to, just go on into the elevator. So if you have a mobility issue and you're thinking about booking this cruise, don't get me wrong, there were plenty of folks on board with mobility challenges, more so than I've seen on any other cruise ship. But just be mindful that you're not necessarily going to get a lot of grace from people. This is something I think they can do a better job at, and it's the map system. It's an old-time map system where you read it and you kind of figure it out, which is fine. However, they have digital maps now that are far more interactive. Not only do they tell you what's on board, but they also tell you what's going on, and they have different languages. And it being a newer ship, I wish that they had maybe a better system of helping you get around. Also, there's a map system that's on your phone for you to use as well. We have a lot more to talk about, but I talked about this and alluded to this quite a bit earlier as far as who's the ship built for. And in my opinion, of all the Carnival ships out there, this one is built for adults. I saw a lot of adults that were having a great time. Some of the deficiencies that I spoke about, it impacted them, but it didn't take away from their ability to really enjoy the cruise. There are lots of opportunities to shop and to, buy stuff, retail therapy on board. So if you like that, then you're going to be in a good space. Also, they have these, side markets almost, where they have stuff and they have discounts, especially on watches and their t-shirt. That's my favorite part of the t-shirt sale. So if you need retail therapy and it's part of your diagnosis and problem or issue or what have you, then you're going to be in a good place on board. Let's switch gears and talk about the internet. Now, the internet does not mean that your phone service or phone plan is going to work. You need an app that allows your phone to work, like WhatsApp is something that most people on board use. But there is internet on board, and oftentimes, unfortunately, people must stay plugged in. If you're one of these folks who are constantly checking your phone on land, when you get on board the ship, you're constantly going to want to check your phone. You're going to feel like almost like there's something missing. So you may want to consider getting the internet plan. The challenge is the plan is extremely expensive. We're talking sometimes as much as $30 to $40 per day. They do have different levels. So if you get a lower level, you can send text message. Get a little bit higher, maybe you can do a little bit more emails and just use a bit more bandwidth. However, the service is exceptional, so much so that you can work on board. I saw one guy doing a video podcast. It's that strong. So sometimes, of course, different parts of the ship is going to work a little bit better than others, but the internet has come a long way. It really does work very well on board. So if you need to work, there is that possibility, there is that option, I should say, for you to be able to get the internet package. I did also mention using the Carnival app to order at restaurants and to see what's happening during the day, and that connects to the Wi-Fi package of Carnival for free, but that's the only thing it allows you to do. Because we kind of got on the ship really quickly, we never talked about the embarkment process, and we got on the ship in New York, and that meant that parking was expensive. We paid $65 a day. So for a 10 day cruise, do the math, that's $650. While I was on board, a lot of people complained about the boarding process. They said they didn't like it very much. I didn't have any problems whatsoever. I got there 2.5 hours early, and I was able to get on the ship much earlier than my original boarding time, and I had no problems whatsoever. One of the things I really enjoyed was that the first time you entered, this is what you walked into. It's the Atrium, which is the most beautiful section of the ship. The only thing I didn't like is that there was no one clapping. Sometimes they have the staff there clapping and welcoming you on board. board, there wasn't any of that, but still, it was a beautiful first experience. You have the option of checking your bag or carrying it with you. I saw a lot of people struggling with their luggage and suitcase, so you may want to just check it. Depends on your preference. There is an excursion desk, so if at the last minute you decide that you're finally going to swim with the dolphins, you can do so and talk to this person, or you can just go right over across the street and use a kiosk and book it that way without having interaction. So if the excursion desk is closed, there are options for you to make a purchase. Again, the port that we sailed out of was the Statue of Liberty. So we are not New Yorkers, so it was great having this, beautiful view of the skyline of New York. We also went right by the Statue of Liberty, so you get an excellent view, not just of the New York City skyline, but also the Statue of Liberty, and it was just beautiful being able to see that. So if you're boarding, I realize the sailaway party is happening right at the same time, but you have to pull away in order to be able to see the Statue of Liberty in a way that, most people don't get a chance to see it. It should come as no surprise that I enjoy cruising. However, I'm very practical. I realize that it's not for everyone. And some people, they'll try it or they don't even want to try it because they feel like they're going to be stuck on board the ship for the entire time. But the reality is, almost every single cruise that you get on goes somewhere, unless it's like a gambling cruise that just goes out, you gamble, and you come right back. And they're going to go somewhere that usually people enjoy. So on my cruise, it was 11 days. We went to 5 different ports, and there's always something fun and exciting for you to see and do while in port. If you decide to do an excursion, there's a few things that you need to know. The first thing is, if you purchase an excursion through the ship, you're going to pay more for it than if you were to just exit the ship and buy an excursion that are being offered to you by local merchants and vendors. Here is something important that you need to know, especially if you get your excursion from a local merchant. If the ship is supposed to leave at 4 and you show up at 4:15 and you don't buy your excursion through the ship will leave you in port. So you have to make sure that you get back to your port early enough to be able to catch the ship. Now, if you buy a ship excursion, the ship will not leave you. Also, if you are going to spend money while in port, don't carry around large sums of cash. You have to exercise universal precautions and exercise common sense and safety, basic safety. For most of the ports that you'll visit in the Caribbean, their number one industry is tourism. What that means is that their government has a vested interest in making sure that you have a great time while on board. So you'll see lots of police officers. The area in and around surrounding the cruise ship is safe. But the further you go away from the cruise ship, the more you'll interact with locals, the more likely that you're going to be the victim of a crime. Crime against members of who are on cruise vessels is low. However, you still have to, again, exercise universal precautions. Here are some other general tips to help you have a great time. First of all, take small bills. Again, no big currency. Pay at the end of your excursion. Never pay up front because your service will decline greatly if you do that. Don't go at it alone. Try to go with a group of people, hopefully people you actually know. Do not become intoxicated. That's a recipe for people to take advantage of you. If you are going off the ship, take a photocopy of your passport. Leave your passport locked in your safe within your stateroom. Also, negotiate prices. Everything is negotiable. And if you negotiate, it's not going to be offensive to the people. They're expecting it. I can't say that they necessarily want to see it, but don't overpay for stuff. Okay, that's it. Let's get on back on the ship and tell you just a little bit more that you need to know. While we were on board, there were lots of professional photographers on board. They were taking pictures of you all the time. All you had to provide was your room number, and all those photos were grouped to your room. What that meant was, at the end of the cruise ship, all those digital photos that you took throughout the entire cruise were all linked together. So you don't have to go, looking at walls and walls of photo trying to find your own photo. At the end, you just basically select your photographs, and the ones that you really liked, those you can pay for or get none at all. If you're going to get a photo package, get it early. That way you can start taking pictures from very early on into the cruise. I did have one problem where I left something on shore and I was able to get it using the help of the service desk. My biggest thing when it comes to the service desk is do not go there at the end or last day of your cruise. Try to resolve any issues earlier on, because you will avoid spending your precious vacation time waiting in long lines. When it comes to the staff, I had no problems whatsoever. I thought they were very helpful. They did their best to try to help you. The biggest challenge that you'll find is that there's maybe a language barrier. Most of these people come from all over the country and the globe. They work 7 days a week for months at a time without seeing their family or loved ones. So just try to be patient with them, because they can have a bad day. Although I must say that the entire time I was on board, never had a negative experience with any of the staff in there. Prior to my sailing, I did my research, and a lot of people had negative comments in regards to the decor on board. And so I feel like I have to address it, or at least have to show it to you. But I didn't find it to be disturbing at all. I find it to be, sort of unique. It's supposed to be a Carnival Venetian type, cruise experience. So I don't know if that's entirely what to expect if I were ever in Italy, but I thought the decor was just fine. I didn't really see a problem with it, not like people were complaining online. I personally had a great cruise. I thought it was a great value for the money, not in my opinion meant for kids. It was far more of an adult experience. So, Carnival has a reputation of being a fun cruise ship for kids. However, I don't feel like this is a kids cruise ship. I think it's far more geared towards adult and a more, mature type of experience.